Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. You can add to the chat if you have technical difficulties, or if I have technical difficulties and I'm talking to myself and you can't hear me. My name is Audrey Bayens, and I'm proud to say that I am part of Sustainable Aurelia and working together to bring Aurelia into more of a sustainable operating situation and informing residents about new things that they can do and affecting what council brings forward with some advice on different aspects of sustainability. And that's where we're at, and that's what we're doing. And so I'm so glad that you're here to learn a little bit more about the circular economy, which is my particular passion. I found the circular economy in late November 2019, fell in love with it, started noticing it everywhere, started learning a lot more about it. Most of the webinars and things and information that I found was coming from Europe. I didn't find a lot happening here, but recently I have found much more in the news media. So I'm hoping that this is beneficial for you to understand a little bit more about it and start to notice things as well in your own environment and world and events. So first of all, we have a slide here that is from Sustainable Aurelia, and just announcing how wonderful it is that we're able to do this, and thanking you for joining us. And it's really important this week for us, so this month for us. So thank you for making the time. There's also a land acknowledgement I'd just like to read quickly. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples. I wish to recognize the long history of First Nations and Métis people in Ontario and show respect to them today. I would also like to specifically acknowledge the neighboring communities of Chippewas of Georgina Island, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Beausoleil First Nation. Thank you for listening to that and respecting land acknowledgement. A few housekeeping notes. Please submit your questions into the chat and we'll review them at the end of the presentation. And I would just like to add that because we have not too many attendees, that we would love to open up the mics at the end and have a conversation and hear why you chose to attend this webinar and your thoughts on circular economy at the end. So hopefully you will agree to do that. That would be wonderful to hear from you, as well as just me talking all the time. Also, this session is being recorded, as well as the chat and the poll data is being used just to help understand what people are looking for and what they know, so that we know what kind of programming to bring forward. So, understanding the circular economy. Basically, circular economy isn't new. It's worn many hats. It's had lots of different movements since the late 70s. Everyone is familiar with cradle to cradle. There's performance economy, biomimicry, industrial ecology, natural capitalism, blue economy, regenerative design. They all fall under this umbrella. So it indicates why I'm so in love with circular economy, because it encompasses so many movements that are important, and it holds all those values and carries them under one concept. And I think the success of it is also the simplicity of the concept, so that it's not hard to explain to the average consumer or community member. And so it might be a little easier to adopt the mindset of the circular economy, as opposed to trying to learn, the details around something like natural capitalism. So speaking of natural capitalism, Sustainable Aurelia has been doing presentations on that very topic in the past year and a half. So I thought I would just choose that particular movement to speak about and how it's related to circular economy. So natural capitalism works with the natural assets of, our environment: soil, air, water. All living things are natural capital. And it's more of a business interlinking with environment interest overlap. So recognizing the relationships between the idea of doing business and respecting natural capital. So what we need to do here is see, what is circular economy bringing to the table when I did my research on this, I really liked a statement that was posted by Natural Capital Coalition. And basically, they're arguing that circular economy is an amazing toolkit to be able to execute investing in natural capital and reducing demand on raw materials. So those are their objectives, but how do you execute that? So circular economy gives tangible action steps that help produce that objective. So it's really good in transitioning to a circular economy to reach that objective. I hope that makes sense to everyone. And the basics, so you start to understand it a little bit more, is to design out waste and pollution. And that is critical to innovative companies. So we now have lots of innovation going on at high-level corporations. We have new entrepreneurs with startups that have fantastic ideas. Innovation is the key to reducing waste and eliminating pollution. So it's about redesigning so you don't have waste. Second statement, keep products and materials in use. And that reduces virgin materials and therefore keeping resources in the ground rather than mining them. So again, that's going to take innovation because we're going to learn to build things that come in parts that can be dismantled, repaired, and put back together. And that will become the responsibility of the producer or the manufacturer, which is good. So I'm just going to have a little drink. Regenerating natural systems. And this one is so very critical. The health of our planet physically, its soil, its infrastructure under the ground, all these pockets of natural gas. I've read stories about them collapsing. We're destroying the very planet that feeds us and cares for us. So we need to regenerate our natural systems, make them clean again, give back the health of the planet. So it's a lot of benefit for the planet, but also these are our society-wide benefits, because what we do is we learn to look at our economy a different way. Instead of a linear model of take, make, waste, we start to redefine what does growth mean. And that is not GDP. It is a thriving community and a healthy planet. That can be growth. It's growth of organisms and animals and growth of humans as individuals who live in harmony with the growth of the planet. So once again, as I highlighted these individual words, rethinking, redesigning, making things that are made to be made again, and becoming a restorative economy, which is not the same as growth, but it's actually better. It's restorative means to grow in a healthy way. So this is key to circular economy. So the Ellen MacArthur Foundation has been a leader in educating globally on what is the circular economy. And Ellen MacArthur is a fascinating individual. If you have a chance, please Google a few YouTubes about her, like she has a few TED Talks telling her story of how she started this. It's really very, very interesting. And they're very powerful. They are driving change globally through this organization. So they have a wonderful short video presentation, and Sophie's going to start that for us.
So now when I go to share screen, hold on.
Okay, share your screen first, and then
now
share your screen first, and then go to the tab and expand the YouTube.
Okay, so share screen first, right?
Yeah.
Share your screen, but then I go to the tab. Can you see my YouTube?
Not yet.
Oh, sorry, folks. We had a bit of a glitch this afternoon. We thought we fixed it. No, there. Chrome tab. There we go. No. Now I see it.
Okay.
Okay. Now I got it. You see it now?
Yes.
Yay. Okay.
Play away.
Living systems have been around for a few.
Turn up your sound a little bit if you can. I lost your sound, Sophie. Can you hear me, Sophie? I don't know if you can hear me, Sophie, but you lost your sound.
Sorry.
There you go. There you go. We can hear you again.
And often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long. So what can? If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological cycle. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers, and alloys so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throw away and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one, where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products that come back to their makers, their technical materials being reused, and their biological parts increasing agricultural value. And imagine that these products are made and transported using renewable energy. Here we have a model that builds prosperity long term. And the good news is, there are already companies out there who are beginning to adopt this way of working. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's about all the interconnecting companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. It's about energy. It's about rethinking the operating system itself. We have a fantastic opportunity to open new perspectives and new horizons. Instead of remaining trapped in the frustrations of the present, with creativity and innovation, we really can rethink and redesign our future.
Better videos that I have found in my searches. I do have one later on in this presentation that is also good, and it is specific to Ontario, which you'll find very interesting. But I'm very inspired by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and what they offer. So just to back up a little bit, now that you've seen that little video, this is the lens, the simple, very simple lens with which to view our consumption. And I think this is key, because if people can just keep these two things in front of them, it will start to be easier in making those snap judgments of what am I buying, what am I using, how am I sharing, what's my everyday practices. So consumption is one aspect, and technical is, or service is the other aspect. So think of biological as everything that goes back to the earth and regenerates the system. And then service or technical is everything that is built that is not compostable, is not consumed, but normally thrown away. What we need to learn to do is be innovative and imagine how we can reuse all those pieces again. So if we dig a little deeper into that, we have this diagram, which shows you consumption on the left, use on the right. And now let's look at biological cycle first. Things are decomposing and all kinds of microbes are getting nutrition from what you've put into the soil. And then from that nutrition, plants are growing, trees are growing, and then that nutrition and those plants are feeding animals, including humans. And then we're taking all those byproducts that are growing from this wonderful soil, and then we're producing products that we then use. But the beauty of it is, if we can keep things clean enough without any non-biodegradable pieces in there, then it goes back to the earth. So companies are getting better at scoping out the biodegradability of their products. I mean, you see it every day in the news now, which is great. And so now let's look at the use cycle, the technical cycle. We have all these products that have been built from virgin materials that have been taken out of the earth. We manufacture them all. We take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of water, a lot of personal, like people, labor hours, shipping, all of it goes into these products and they land in your lap. And then when they break, what do you do with it? Well, you don't know how to fix it yourself, so it goes into landfill. And so what we need to do is reuse those materials. And who's the best person to help us reuse those materials? The producer of the product. They know how it goes together. They know where it came from. They know what it's made out of. So what's going to happen in the future, and is happening already, is that the producers of everything are becoming accountable and responsible for their products. The hope is that everyone's ordering from Amazon to have products delivered to their doorstep. What should happen is the courier then picks up the product that broke and takes it back to the producer. So it's a two-way system. You're not just getting new products, you're sending products back. That is what we are hoping to do with the circular economy. And so let's take a moment to do a poll. It's always interesting to know what people are thinking and how they're reacting to the webinar. So were you aware of the circular economy before this webinar? Answer yes or no. Well, it's good to see that 2 people were aware, and specifically aware recently, because I've read at least 2 articles a week, and I read the Globe and Mail, that are now using that language. They are saying circular economy, which is great. It's really good. So it's a new language, and we need to get used to it, and we need to embrace it. So how does circular economy increase job opportunities? This is another big question that is always coming up. So what we have to think about is all the jobs that are coming through creating new markets, through reimagining products, and also on shortening supply chains and keeping things local. Think of the Ellen MacArthur video you just saw, where they had the city scene, where they had the different buildings engaging with each other. It has to be a network of communication between business so that we can start to keep jobs local, decentralized from the larger companies that are shipping things for such distances. That's all creating jobs. So these quotes and this information comes from a reliable source. I put a few pieces together, but it's commonly stated that it's a $2 trillion opportunity. So this is huge. And so it'll involve things like small producers that do recycling of materials that are very specific. And so, you know, there will be new businesses created around those specific materials, and then they won't go in your blue box. They'll go back to that small producer who's going to now be the person responsible for just that product. And that's good. And so Toronto is a great example of producing jobs around the circular economy. They're working hard on becoming a circular city, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. And there's a little video here Sophie's going to play for us, and it's really about the programs that they have started using to train people to practice circular economy reuse, repair, and recycle. So when you're ready, Sophie.
Is growing, and so is the waste that we produce. About half of the city's residents live in apartment buildings and condos, and diverting more waste from these buildings is a priority for the city. One of the ways to help achieve this is by providing opportunities for reduction and reuse in buildings and at community hubs. The city also has goals of placemaking, poverty reduction, and capacity building. The Community Reduce and Reuse programs, as part of the Long-Term Waste Management Strategy and the Tower Renewal Program, will help to meet these goals by educating residents about the importance of waste reduction and reuse, and provide opportunities for sharing and repairing, offering skills training, creating job and economic opportunities, and spaces for community members to gather. Urban Harvest is a program that will help to reduce food waste and benefit the broader community by collecting surplus fruits and vegetables from residents' backyards and redistributing them to local food banks and programs. It will also provide opportunities to learn about preserving food through canning workshops. Community composting equips resident groups with the tools, skills, and knowledge to maintain a community garden and turn yard waste into compost. It also serves as an opportunity to learn about the importance of food waste reduction and the benefits of composting. Sewing hubs provide workshop spaces to encourage repair and reuse of clothing and other textiles to help reduce the amount of textiles discarded each year. Program activities include regular instruction on the basics of alterations and repairs, and opportunities to make and design clothes from repurposed textiles. Bicycle repair hubs provide dedicated workshop spaces to train residents in bicycle assembly, repair, maintenance, and safety. Bicycle repair hubs also promote the cycling culture and waste diversion by repairing bicycles that would have otherwise become scrap metal. Sharing and reuse spaces promotes a culture of reusing, sharing, repairing, and repurposing items to prolong their life. It encourages residents to share items with others in their community and choose activities and products that result in less waste and support reuse. These programs are interconnected and support and benefit from one another. The sewing hubs create reusable bags from discarded textiles for the Urban Harvest program to gather and redistribute surplus food, and the bicycles used to collect the food are repaired and maintained by the bicycle repair hubs. These 5 programs are part of the city's long-term waste management strategy, which prioritizes waste reduction, reuse, and recycling, and supports a move towards a zero-waste future.
Hello, everyone.
That was the next YouTube. So here we are seeing this aerial view of Toronto, and it's enormous. And I'll just say that we'll talk about it later at the end of the slide as well, but Aurelia is doing good things. It has a repair cafe that happens fairly regularly. So, and it's smaller, and we can create programs a little more easily than this vast area of Toronto. You know, so we have an opportunity to do the same thing as they're doing there in that video, and we just need to work at it a little bit and put some things in place, and we're not far off. We're doing very well. This question is asked fairly often about the circular economy, so I just wanted to put this slide in to make it very clear that the UN SDG goals are being supported by the circular economy, again, in the same way that the natural capital is, because the circular economy provides a toolbox of execution and action items that people understand and embrace. And then that way, it's answering to all these bullet-pointed SDG goals and helps them to progress faster. The UN has actually said we'll reach our targets sooner if we embrace circular economy, which is a great statement. Circular cities are another piece of the puzzle that's so very important. And again, I'll remind you that on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation video, it showed globally we come together and we share knowledge, we network, we provide support to each other, we find out who might have waste materials that can then be used by somebody else to create something useful. We need cities to be ticking as their own hub. I've heard stats like in 20 years, 50% of our global population will live in city centers. So we really need to work on the infrastructure within the cities to make that circular in order to achieve our goals. Circular Economy Club is a global organization, and it has about 140 chapters around the world. This is Circular City Week and being celebrated by them, and over 80 Circular Economy Club chapters did webinars about how their city is becoming circular. I'm the Toronto chapter organizer, and we did a webinar this past Tuesday, and we had good attendance and everybody was excited. It was our first webinar because the Toronto chapter has been inactive for a long time. And there are 4 other chapters in Canada: London, Calgary, and Vancouver. So they're doing good work around the world and working in relationship with Ellen MacArthur Foundation and many other organizations that do circular cities. So just as a little teaser, in order to become a circular city, you basically do a scan of your infrastructure and how the different sectors are, baselining on circular principles. And the beauty about Aurelia is that because we've had sustainable Aurelia for 2 years now, I think it is, the sectors that we have, volunteers working on, they've already scanned their sector. They have that information. So we don't need to start from scratch. So that's exciting. That's exciting to think about Aurelia being a circular city. So let's start with the national status. I don't know if anyone was aware of it, but Canada was supposed to host the 2020 World Circular Economy Forum. And of course, it got canceled because of COVID. But now we are on board to do the 2021 World Circular Economy Forum. And I am so excited. I hope that we can help Canada shine, Toronto shine, Ontario shine at this conference where there's the eyes of the world are on this event each year. It's a very good event. So the organizations that I found that are national, that are working hard on the circular economy, are the Circular Economy Lab, which helps co-design, which is so good, like co-design, collaborative work with individuals and companies. It's really important, and a place to pilot and test your solutions. So that's really good because not everybody has the capital to invest in testing. And so now Canada is supporting that through this Circular Economy Lab. The other one is the Circular Economy Leadership Coalition, which is really important, displaying Canada as a world leader in developing the benefits of the circular economy. And so providing ways for accelerating the transition to zero waste. So there are resources within this coalition that help connection at a national level to get things done. At a provincial level, there's lots going on. You don't hear about it every day. And when I first found out about the circular economy, I tried to find answers about what is Ontario doing for circular economy, and it was hard to find answers. I really had to dig deep into documents. I had to talk to our Aurelia WEMAC team. I found out things from people that have relationships with MRFs. So it's not at a obvious level for the public to learn about circular economy in Ontario, but it is happening. And one of the things that's happening is done through an organization called RPRA, and they are managing the transition to the circular economy. And one of the things that they're focusing on is the extended producer responsibility, except they call it the individual producer responsibility, IRP. And what they're trying to do is begin the process of putting out bids for small recycling companies that are very specific in what they are going to recycle. So rather than it all going to a central MRF, it will start to become a more detailed process of what goes where. And it's very exciting because it will start to transition things faster. So the things that are already in place are, tires and electrical and hazardous waste, but it's going to get much more aggregated and broad in coming up very quickly. So let's take a moment and do another poll. So, were you aware of the work being done at a provincial level? Yes or no? You see, you are in the same boat as I was. It's not very public about what's going on in Ontario. The thing that I struggle with is that I feel that community members are an important part of driving change from the ground up. We need to be aware that we can buy products that are made from recycled content. And we need to be aware of the products we should be trying to buy because they are able to be repaired and reused. So they need to tell us how to do that. They can't just work in the background because the target for getting all the different producers on board is 3 years. But in the meantime, the public could start to choose things that they're buying consciously and going in the direction of a circular economy in their behavior, which will drive change faster. So it's our job to educate people on how to participate in the circular economy, even though it's in its immature stages, and ask the provincial government to talk about it more and to teach us more about it. That's where we need to go. So the RPRA, Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority, its job is to just help with the transition. So there's a good video here, which is somewhat like the Ellen MacArthur video, but it's Ontario specific. So have a look.
Throw it away. The average Ontarian produces over 800 every year. Only 25% of that waste is recycled. At this rate, Ontario will need 16 new or expanded landfills by 2050. We need to stop thinking of waste as garbage and start thinking of it as a resource. The shift in thinking is underway in Ontario. From a traditional linear economy, where natural resources are extracted, manufactured into products, consumed, and thrown away, to a circular economy, where products and packaging are designed to minimize waste, and then recovered, reused, recycled, and reintegrated back into production. A circular economy preserves natural resources, protects the environment, reduces greenhouse gases, spurs innovation, and creates jobs. The shift from a linear to a circular economy is gaining momentum globally and locally. The Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority was created by the Ontario government to support the transition to a circular economy. We do this by enforcing individual producer responsibility, or IPR requirements, for businesses to collect and manage the products and packaging they sell. We also support businesses in meeting these requirements. We can conduct inspections, issue compliance orders, and if necessary, prosecute businesses that don't follow the law. We also oversee some programs that help divert waste from landfill, like the Blue Box program. We operate a registry to collect and analyze information that will be shared with businesses and the public about Ontario's progress towards a waste-free future. Tires are the first material designated under Ontario's IPR requirements, and more materials will be designated in the coming years. Ontario has ambitious goals to divert more waste from landfill. A circular economy today will lead to a waste-free tomorrow. Learn more at rpra.ca. We make it, use it, and throw it away.
We're getting the hang of it.
We're catching on. If it was the third time, Audrey, we'd be pros.
All right. So one of the things that's very, very important is the data collection. And so that will help us understand consumer behavior, what's going on out there, and how successful recycling is. But in all honesty, let's realize that recycling is not really the answer unless we make value out of the recycle that goes in those blue boxes. So we as conscious consumers who religiously put out our blue boxes and are very careful and spend time and energy cleaning our products that go in the blue boxes and walking it out to the curb, it's our responsibility to then purchase products that are made with post-consumer waste. Like, that is what we should be looking for. Nobody should be buying toilet paper that's virgin material. We should be buying 100% recycled paper, toilet paper, paper towel, all of that. Let's think about a project I'm doing right now. I'm doing the flooring in a new building. And I found flooring that's made 40% post-consumer waste, and it's vinyl plank, which is very popular right now. The beauty of it is that the company who makes these vinyl planks take back their product, grind it down, and make new planks if your floor ever gets damaged or you need to remove it. Although it's pretty hard to damage these vinyl planks. But this could go for roofing shingles, anything made of metal. We need to do our research, but we need to make it easier for consumers to find those products. That's one of the key things. So we're going to work on that, and we're going to make that information more available somehow. That's the key here. So there's your little homework for the week. Look around your house and see what have you got there that's got post-consumer waste in it, because if you don't buy things made from it, your blue box has no value after they sort through all that stuff and make bales. All right? All right. Good to have homework. So, City of Toronto status, they're doing very well. They're working toward a circular economy and zero waste. They're focusing on waste first, because if you can imagine how much waste Toronto has, it's enormous. There are organizations, mostly European, a lot of them come out of Amsterdam, that help with scanning the city, understanding the waste and how it can be reduced. But one of the difficulties I know from experience of talking to the people in Amsterdam who are doing this is that when all the waste goes to a central facility, it's hard to understand what's in those garbage bags in the long run. And it's harder to get a handle on it because the MRFs don't have the data. So it's the data that's counting. And it's been said that the way we're going to progress toward our objectives with the SDG goals is through data technology. So it's going to speed things up. It's going to make connections. It's going to have platforms that are networking for making value out of waste. It's all about understanding who has what, where, and what they're doing with it. So that's all about that. And so Toronto is trying very hard to create those networks, building programs to educate people about waste reduction. So what's happening closer to home? I thought it was worth talking about what the county, Simcoe County, has been doing. Now, you guys might have been aware of this already, but I found out just, a week ago, that there was a zero waste Simcoe organization from 2012 to 2014, and I didn't realize that. Now, mind you, I didn't get to really until 2014. I've been here about six years now. But the Zero Waste Conference was in 2017, and it was extremely successful, but the action items fell down. We didn't keep going. So what we need to do is pick it up, do it again, find more interested people. These things almost have to wait. Innovation has to wait until the time is right. And I think the time is right now. I think since COVID especially, people are really looking at how they can do a better job and are taking the time, especially being home more, taking the time to look at what they are throwing away. So this is a good time to start this education again. Now we get to talk loud and proud about Aurelia. Aurelia is doing amazing things. And the way that I gleaned most of these is from the annual report. But the thing that stood out of my mind in the annual report was a few little notes here and there where they talked about if somebody always had too many garbage bags and they had no recycle bin out, that the WEMAC staff were actually reaching out individually to those people to tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, by the way, maybe you don't understand, you should be using a green bin, or you should have a blue box, or how you might reduce your garbage. And that to me is like the beauty and the golden nugget of small town, is that we have relationships with our citizens, and there's an element of trust in there, and everyone has a face and a name, and it's talking to your neighbors and supporting what's going on. So that's one of the keys why Aurelia has now won a platinum, 9 gold, and 7 silver awards by Recycling Council of Ontario since 1998. That's pretty amazing. And we should be very, very proud of our WEMAC committee and shout it out. A couple of the current programs are really interesting as well, where we have the treasure hunt. I don't know how many other places have that. We have the Repair Cafe, and we have a reuse spot at the transfer station where things are being put out for people to pick up. We have lots of pollinator gardens and community gardens, and we are very lucky to have had, Jacob leading us on that. I think you probably all know who Jacob is these days, and he's got his own garden out by Bass Lake now. But he was instrumental in getting all these gardens going, and it's been a huge thing. Plus, Aurelia is small enough to bike from one end to the other in 20 minutes. So there's all these aspects about Aurelia that makes us just so well suited to take the extra steps into becoming more of a circular city. And we hope that somehow we can start to bring things together under this umbrella idea. And that's why I'm here talking about it, to try and get encouragement. So recognizing the efforts of the business in Aurelia is also hugely important. And the interesting thing is that we have some really wonderful business owners who have all their values in the right place. And they're doing amazing things with zero waste and packageless things and regenerating the earth. But what they don't know is that they are running a circular economy business. They don't even know that. And so what we need to do is recognize them and recognize what they're doing and give them a big pat on the back and let the public know how important it is that we have business owners who have these values, so that we encourage this behavior in all business owners. So Chamber of Commerce does a good job of doing their green awards. And we need to just talk about it with our neighbors and ask the business owners what is it they're doing. Like, look at Home Hardware, very humble, but they have been a leader in getting rid of their plastic bags and using paper bags. And it's not because head office told them to do that. It's because they, as a business owner, individual purpose driven, decided to do that. It's huge. So let's make sure to recognize that when we're out and about if we can. So let's take a moment to answer another poll and see how well you know Aurelia. Were you aware of all the efforts happening in Aurelia? All right, so this makes it feel very worthwhile to be doing this webinar. All these wonderful things being done by our municipal staff, our WEMAC committee, our mayor making decisions with the support of all kinds of professionals and technical experts. We're really there. It's driving change to a large degree, and we're not recognizing it. So we need to be a little louder and prouder about what we're doing, and we need to search out ways to support what's been done so that we get more momentum and more people coming on board. Because, the old adage is people want to do what other people are doing. So they want to be part of a successful group. So we have to recognize the success in order to get more people wanting to feel successful and be part of what's going on here. So that's our mission. Just a few things you can do at home, and I'm sure you guys all know this, but there it is on the screen. Think about limiting your waste. Buying well-made things that don't fall apart means buying less. It doesn't mean that you have to, deny yourself. It just means find things that last longer so that you're not going to do it. A rechargeable barbecue lighter instead of one that you have to throw away and get another, cheapo one. Or going to the library instead of buying, well, it's nice to have books. I'm not against books, but it's good to be part of the sharing economy. Tool libraries are becoming a really important thing, and sharing within networks for other tools and resources. Businesses are starting to do this. I've heard of online platforms now where there's, let's say, 15 businesses within a warehouse area. You know how you have one unit after another in a big strip? What they're starting to do is create platforms for the people within that warehouse strip, and they start to share procurement processes, and they start to share recycle issues, and it's really fantastic. And if somebody's throwing something away, somebody else might get it. It needs to be the sharing economy. And so the next one is making the most of what you have, of what we have. And so just being aware that you can repair things, donate to a secondhand store. Don't just think that you're the only one who might need it. If you don't want it anymore, maybe somebody else might need it. And of course, giving back to our planet, which, we all are getting much, much better at by making sure our grain bin is in use to create nutrition to go back to our earth and create restorative practices. So there we go. And now I would love it if we could turn on people's mics, let them talk. We have 15 minutes. I would love to hear why you joined this webinar, what you're interested in, what makes you excited, what are you passionate about? So I can do less talking, but hear a little bit about what you feel is important. And Sophie, I think you have to unmute.
Have one person I can't unmute, Audrey, and one person's left. One person is able to, is on a device, so may not be able to communicate.
Oh, okay.
Go through the chat. I have opened it up to anyone that I could, but let's just start. If someone wants to speak up, they're welcome to, or put in the chat if they're not able to. I think I've enabled anyone that can.
Okay.
So let's start with, do you see the questions in the chat? Or would you
I do. So David, are you able to speak? Are you unmuted?
On a mobile device. So
okay, that's fine. I'll speak to your questions. That's okay, David. So first question, so everybody can hear the question. Would the circular economy benefit from training programs that teach how to repair things, sewing, metalwork, bicycle repair? Yes. You probably put that question in before I showed you the RPRA video. But absolutely, this is what we need. There used to be a lot more repair shops around from what I recall. And the difficulty is that, with the manufacturing processes that have started to happen where everybody is sending things overseas and the cost has come down to the point where people say, well, why would I spend $15 repairing that when I can go get a new pair for $10 or whatever it is? And this is where the mindset is difficult. And we need to persevere with repairing, even though it might cost us a little bit more, because we need to provide employment for the repair people. So here's a great example. I have a step-to-step wagon for my grandkids, and the wheel fell off. Well, the wheel is broken. I need a wheel. Well, the wheel cost half as much as the wagon cost, but I refuse to buy a new wagon. But how am I going to get a wheel for less than half the cost of the wagon? So it's still sitting there I'm looking at it every day. And then I suddenly realized the other day, what if I put an ad on Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace that said, looking for broken step-to-step wagon that has lost a wheel? How many wheels do you have? How many wheels do I have? Oh, if we take 5 wagons, we can now make 3 wagons because the wheels are notorious for breaking. So that's my next adventure. So there's a company also called Compugen that takes electronics and trains people to fix them and provides employment. And these kinds of things should happen in Aurelia. We should have a shop in Aurelia where people can be trained to fix electronics and things like that and do sewing repairs. So this is all things that would be so advantageous. Are there government programs for this, you're asking, David? I don't know. I I think that if Aurelia, Sustainable Aurelia, or Aurelia in general decides to move forward with creating programs the way the City of Toronto has, we would have to dig deeper and find grants. It's true. And obviously, as I showed you on the national and provincial status, they are supporting circular economy. So there should be funding. We'll have to look into it. And last question David had here, and then I'll go to yours, Sophie, is we need a way to send old tires back to the manufacturer. Are you aware of any tire manufacturers doing this? So I think the tire program, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, is that when you buy your tires from the tire manufacturer at the Goodyear store or wherever you've gone, you pay extra when you buy those tires to support the service that breaks those tires down in the end. But it's our transfer stations that collect the tires and send them to one producer recycler. So it's not that every tire manufacturer is going to have a recycling plant. They've made a tire recycling process that all the tires go to, but the manufacturers of the tires ask you to pay a fee up front when you buy your tires that pays for that to happen. So that's where that is at. And so that is still good practices because the tires get regenerated into all kinds of wonderful things. So that's been going on for a while. And then Sophie, you asked, we purchased an outdoor carpet this spring that can be returned to the manufacturer once we no longer have use for it. Fantastic. Who is that, Sophie?
Tag so I could remember where to return it at some point in time when it's no longer usable. But how fantastic that was.
That is fantastic. And we need to post that. We need to put that on Sustainable Aurelia's website. We need to start having a collection of things like that because this is the biggest difficulty is finding these nuggets. Mm-hmm. And we can't expect everyone to spend 3 hours doing the research. But Sophie, if you've done the research and we have a collaborative tool where you can put that information in there that is a database, and then another person in Aurelia wants to look for outdoor carpet and they put in outdoor carpet and pops up what you said, the information.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to leave that in your hands to bring.
Okay. All right. And Bill, your question is, where is the cost of the return transportation and the added employment required? Okay. Where's the cost? Well, it's up to the manufacturer of the product to provide the cost of the return transportation. And the added employment is required because when that broken product gets back to the manufacturer, he has to hire more staff and train more staff to now take apart his product, their product, and make it usable again. So you're increasing employment at the producer level, and you are forcing the producer to think more carefully about the disposability of their product. Why would they want to have to repair all these products constantly? Maybe they won't want it to be obsolescent in 3 years because then they'll have to repair it in 3 years. Maybe they'll start making their things longer lasting so it reduces the amount of work and time and energy that they have to do to repair it. That's the whole idea behind it. And this is where the circular economy is gaining a lot of ground as well, in the fact that you just don't own it yourself. You don't own your clothes. You don't own your washing machine. You don't own your furnace, your whatever. You lease or rent, and then the products go back to the manufacturer or producer. And so you're buying a service from them. You're not buying a product. And in fact, I attended a webinar in Vienna. Isn't it wonderful when you can do webinars on the other side of the world during pandemic about chemical leasing? So instead of buying, containers of chemicals, manufacturers are now leasing chemicals from the chemical company, who then becomes responsible for the chemical when they're done with it, because at the end of the production line, it needs to go somewhere and it's hazardous. So the producer of the chemical now takes it back and filters it and uses it somewhat again, hopefully, or learns to dispose of it in a responsible manner. And they also manage how much chemical do you really need for your production line. So a lot of companies are saying they've benefited on their bottom line because they now use less chemical. So it's all good. It's best practices happening. And it's because we're no longer feeling that we can make money on something and then not take responsibility for the havoc we've created.
So Audrey, back to Bill's question. Does that not then, of course, increase the cost to the consumer?
Well, it might increase the cost to the consumer, but it's going to become a responsibility that we research the companies that are doing this to know why they've increased their cost. Like, we have to know and legitimize why is that's happened, and what are you doing better than you didn't do before. Well, so I know that that's a big challenge for consumers to spend more money to do the right thing, but it's going to be regulated. So what's going to happen is you won't be able to buy, well, maybe you will. There'll be black market items that are destined for the landfill, that are flying under the radar, is what will happen. Because companies are going to become accountable to the RPRA, and you can't, it's going to be all regulated. So there will be transparency. The data will be available to the public to understand how the products are made and what's happening on the recycle side. And then maybe, with the municipalities not having to spend millions and millions of dollars on landfill and picking up garbage, taxes might go down, So what you spend on one thing, you might not be spending in another area, is the hope. And honestly, being able to repair things will save a lot of money,
I wish there were still shoe repair shops.
Well, we need them back.
We do.
But then we need shoes that are repairable. So for instance, I bought a pair of, $250 hiking boots so I could go out west and do the West Coast Trail, which was marvelous and wonderful. But after a year and a half of having those hiking boots, the toe grip is coming apart. So I Googled, repairable hiking boot, and I got a European, Swedish company whose boot comes completely apart and goes back together again. And they weren't that much more expensive, but they're repairable. So I went back to New Balance, whose boots I bought, and I said, hey, I know my warranty is up on this boot because it's only 6 months, but I have a pair of, what's it called? Trail something. I can't remember the name of the boot. And I've had those 10 years, and the toe piece isn't coming off those. And I've had them 10 years, and your toe piece is coming off after a year and a half. So are you going to help me repair this boot? Because this is what the circular economy is. And here's a link to a company that does that. So if we as consumers start to push back, instead of spending another $250, hopefully I can just get my boot repaired. And another one would be reupholstery companies. Like, why are we buying all this furniture and then throwing it in the landfill? Why don't we get one set of furniture and be able to reupholster it? So there's a lot of questions out there to be given to manufacturers and producers as to what they could offer us as value.
Thanks, Audrey.
Does that help answer the question for you too, Bill? So the cost of the produce goes up? Hopefully. Hopefully it gets everyone thinking a little bit about how to view things differently. And I don't know if you guys are podcast addicts like I am, but if you go into your podcast platform and you put in a keyword called circular, you will find some amazing podcasts that interview business owners doing circular business. And it's incredible what's going on out there in the world. Like, talk about inspiring hope. It's fantastic. And so we need to encourage innovation. We need to encourage that you might need to take apart your model and start again just to get on the right page, but then you'll get recognition. So again, it comes back to these companies need recognition. They need the public to know how to find them and to then invest in them. So that's my closing statement. And not my closing statement. We need to drive that change in Aurelia. We need to be leading the way. So we're a smaller city. We are doing really well with our zero waste. We just need to bring it up a notch now. All right. So looking forward to comments and questions coming to Sustainable Aurelia at the website to see what else we can do to help educate people. If you have a group you'd like to have a presentation on this or on zero waste, please let us know so we can go out there and present to your favorite Rotary Club or I don't know them all, Probus, even your, like, gather some neighbors together. We'll do a webinar for you and make it exclusive, whatever you like. We're there for you. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll talk again later. Bye-bye.